do not like the looks of this giant fight chamber. Bird person?
It is now Phoenix person.
What did they do to you, BP?
It is now PP.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 10 finale video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on with Season 5 at the end of the video, too. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Easter eggs. We'll do a new Rick and Morty merch giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite episode from the season on the video. So careful for spoilers if you have not seen the episode yet. We'll do top 10 WTF and Easter eggs as we go along. Starting with number 10, the title of the episode, Star Mort Rickturn of the Jerri, a Star Wars Return of the Jedi reference, and in a rare moment, the title of the episode was liberally referenced throughout the episode by Rick when he kept referring to all of the other Beth's adventures as being a little too much like Star Wars, then by the final act, even full-on saying out loud they were going to do a Star Wars and referencing the Death Star a couple times. So number 9, the opening scene, welcome back Season 3 Beth. At least we think that it's Season 3 Beth. We get the reveal of the Beth that thinks that she's the real Beth from Season 3 Episode 9, making it seem like she really did choose to clone herself and go on adventures around the multiverse. Later we get a flashback scene that clarifies what actually happened and that she let Rick decide what to do. The way the writers played the flashback twists is a little more complicated. I'll explain why they did that, but now there is a full-blown duplicate Beth, whichever one you think is the real one. For the purposes of this video, I'll call this one the hardcore Beth, and this one that we've been watching since the Season 3 finale, regular Beth, just because she seems so regular. Hardcore Beth is revealed to be leading a resistance group that's fighting the new version of the Galactic Federation that's rebuilt itself from the ashes of their defeat at the beginning of Season 3 Episode 1. They don't specify exactly what planet they're on specifically, they're just on the capital city of whatever this new federation is in Gromflemite territory. But since they're making so many Star Wars references, we'll just call this their version of Coruscant. You notice that Hardcore Beth is running with a female Squanchy amongst her crew. We're still not quite sure where Rick's friend Squanchy was after the Season 2 finale after they all escaped the wedding. Speaking of which, I love that they brought back that joke when Rick killed Tammy. You made me go to a wedding. There's also a robot here that looks a little bit like the L337 droid from Solo: A Star Wars Story, but the whole bit with her name being so lame that the Gromflemite guard has trouble remembering is just a setup for the dueling Beths later, and then when Hardcore Beth is at the Shoney's with Rick, we never left the Shoney's, they also make fun of her lame name again. Then number 8, the Death Star, or the new Death Star. Since the episode is meant to be more of a Return of the Jedi Star Wars reference, we'll call this a version of the second Death Star, and when the alien is describing it in the clip, he also makes a lot of jokes and references about both of the Death Stars, saying that they've gotten rid of all the design flaws, there's no small port where the rebels could blow it up. The bug design of the ship kind of reminds me of this old sci-fi series called Lex with a very phallic-looking bug-shaped ship, but you guys can let me know what kind of references you think they're making with the design of this ship. The joke about the Wrangler jeans was just funny, but it could actually be a genuine product integration for the episode. It's such a specific joke, and it's referenced so many times throughout the episode. Planet-killing Death Star brought to you by Wranglers, even when they put the Wrangler jeans in the beam to stop the Death Star super laser. Maybe Levi Jeans gave them a ton of money, or it could just be them parodying bad product integration and the over-commercialization of the show now that it's become so popular. Morty complains in some of their commercials, too, that they do separately from the show, about Rick always selling them out for money. Why do you keep selling us out, Rick? Notice when Hardcore Beth is watching this, she's got a lot of prosthetics and cybernetic body part replacements, which is just one more way that she's evolved into the Rickest version of Beth. Over here on the wall, you can actually see what seems like an upper body torso replacement, like a lot of her upper body parts have been replaced with cybernetic parts, just like Rick. We get a really good look at Rick's body parts when he's fighting with Phoenix Person later in the episode. The fact that Rick stuck explosive devices in both of the Beth's necks, though, is because he wasn't sure which one was the clone, so he did the very Rick thing of making the cynical choice assuming that they're both potential threats, which compounds his grief later when he acknowledges what a terrible father he is. Number 7, Dr. Wong from Pickle Rick is back. They released this scene early last week, and I totally didn't think they'd go so far as to get Susan Sarandon to come back to do new voiceover for the episode, because her scene is really short, but they credited her as an official guest star in the episode, so either they did get her to come back, or they just used extra lines of dialogue that they deleted from Season 3, Episode 3 that they didn't wind up using before. But even if they did use old lines of dialogue instead of actually bringing her back into a booth to record new lines, they'd still have to credit her as a guest star during the episode. Either way, it was still a pretty big surprise that they brought her back at all, but the whole premise of her coming back is just to reference the Pickle Rick therapy episode again. They even referenced that episode earlier in another episode when Rick makes fun of Morty for his bad ideas. If you felt like you heard them reference the Pickle Rick episode a lot this season, it's because they won a couple Emmys for it, so it's their most critically lauded episode, so that's just them kind of patting themselves on the back, like, look at how awesome this one episode during season 3 was. Even though if you ask people what their favorite episode of season 3 was, they give you a bunch of different answers. They also use this intro scene to set up Morty and Summer's invisibility belt arc that leads them to team up like Luke and Leia later in the episode, which they directly reference when they're on the Death Star. More Star Wars references, except Summer says no brother-sister kissing this time, and apparently Hansel and Gretel were totally doing it with each other. Even though they make fun of their own storyline breaking the fourth wall later in the episode, they do get some fun out of the invisibility belt, with both Morty and Summer being as lewd as possible, which is very on brand for both of them. Summer uses it to stalk her crush in his bedroom. She seems like she is WTF. Watch out, she is a freak. Morty, as expected, tries to use it to peep on the cheerleaders in practice and even tries to get them in the shower before Summer comes to get him. But notice the clock in her crush's room here is on military time. It seems a little weird that they would do it that way, but some people do use military time. Morty's old belt being Tiny Big Man Jr. just seems like it's a regular belt and that's the name of the brand. It doesn't seem like it has any special functions. Morty even directly calls out the TV show To Catch a Predator. And when this guy catches Summer in his room, look at the picture on his wall. This family is just absolutely creep-tastic. Number 6, Beth versus Rick. So this is a good standoff because it shows you how this version of Beth is trying to out-Rick with her gadgets and attacks. They want it to feel like he's met his match, like if anybody in the multiverse would be capable of taking him on, it would be another top-tier version of Rick or a top-tier version of Beth, which this Beth has evolved into. I feel like the horse head on her jacket is also a bit of a callback to her love of ponies as a little girl, like she's living out her best life, all the things that she always wanted to do for herself. They both throw red and blue Pokemon balls at each other that release monsters tearing each other apart that look very much like Pokemon ripoffs. This blue one even kind of has a Pikachu tail. You can let me know which other Pokemon you think they resemble most, but I think they're just meant to be copyright-safe amalgams of a bunch of different Pokemon so that the Rick and Morty people don't get sued by Nintendo for ripping off Pokemon. Rick tries to play both Beths during the episode as to who's the real one and who's the clone, but in reality he doesn't know either because he was playing two-card Monty shuffling the tanks so that he wouldn't know the difference. They also give you a sense for how the two Beths diverged when Hardcore Beth is disgusted at herself at the thought that she went back to Jerri in the season 3 finale. That's another callback to her being just like Rick, because who does Rick hate the most? Rick hates himself the most, and now Beth hates herself literally the most. So number 5, the Federation invades Earth again and Rick kills Tammy. They took over at the end of the season 2 finale, but then left in season 3 episode 1 after Rick crushed the government. But Beth's poster here seems like the writing is supposed to be a reference to Arabesh, which is the written language in all the Star Wars movies and TV shows. They set up the bit about Rick not being a threat to the government anymore when he tells Beth his philosophy on galactic coups. The trick is to be left alone by whoever takes over, which Tammy then calls out when she says they're neutralizing him effectively by leaving him alone. You won't be a threat as long as we leave you alone. Rick references his hero phase. That's the period in his life that Bird Person was talking to Morty about when Beth believed that he'd abandoned her as a child when she was growing up. Later, when both of the Beths are yelling at each other, they reference a 30-year-old version of Rick saying that Hardcore Beth is trying to be like that 30-year-old version of Rick who was in his hero phase. Inside Dr. Wong's therapy session, she drags Jerri for the sock puppet and references the Great British Bake Off TV show. Tammy returns, for real this time, not like the fake Story Train version of Tammy. I love that Jerri also keeps getting her name wrong. Tanya? Tamia? What was your name again? I love that he calls her Tamia, like that's an actual name. Rick keeps making fun of Dr. Wong again because he's always hated therapy, all more callbacks to the Pickle Rick episode. We also learn he planted tech all over the office, just like the home, to activate when he said certain phrases out loud, just so that he could bail on therapy. One of them being an incinerator that was supposed to destroy Dr. Wong herself because it incinerated her chair when she would normally be sitting. But he catches Tammy in the fire, scarring her face, which is because we're going for Star Wars Easter eggs, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader reference. Make all the Rick Sanchez high ground references you want. When she says, I'm better than this job, that's also a fourth wall break from Susan Sarandon, just a meta joke about her in real life being better than this acting job doing a voiceover character on Rick and Morty, like I'm too famous for this. You notice that hardcore Beth's spaceship is designed to look a little bit like Anakin Skywalker's Starfighter from Revenge of the Sith. Those are called Ecta-2 Actus class interceptors. They reference a whole bunch of fast food brands in a really short time span, so some or all of these might be actual product integrations to earn more money for the show, because Rick mentions McDonald's as if it's like a big treat, he loves it, then Wendy's, he loves that even more, then they directly reference their Wendy's commercial they've been airing all season, saying, I love Wendy's, I think they even gave us some money. That's another fourth wall break because the Wendy's Corporation literally gave them a dump truck of money to do that commercial, and it's another integration within this episode. If you understand how TV is monetized and made with integrations, they are really cashing in on this episode. They also give another Wrangler Jeans shout out. Morty and Summer break the fourth wall when they're talking about their story arc during the episode. Hey, it's not Citizen Kane, but why compete with whatever's going on here? Which is the writers just making fun of themselves, acknowledging that the Morty Summer arc in the episode isn't nearly as interesting as what's going on with the two versions of Beth in the Federation. Rick kills Tammy, joking about the wedding, you made me go to a wedding, then obviously tries to take it back because technically killing his best friend, Bird Person, should be way worse than making him go to a wedding. Remember, Rick didn't know about the Phoenix Person twist till the end of this episode and the big reveal. We've known about it since Season 3, Episode 1. Then number 4, they go do a Star Wars. Rick directly calls out Star Wars, saying they have to go do a Star Wars and head to the Death Star. His really quick portal trick with a small squadron of ships is also a good indicator for how much he holds back in fights. He's way more powerful and smarter than he lets on. So most of the time, when it seems like he loses, especially when he's with the rest of the family like they one-up him, usually that's him letting them win because he really does love his family despite how much he complains about it. Later in the episode, they sort of bring that back around when they're the ones to save him from Phoenix Person. Rick breaks the fourth wall again when he says Tammy was over-serialized, meaning that the writers think that they used the character too many times in too many episodes, and he reminds Morty and Summer not to kill themselves trying to save this Earth because there are infinite Earths that they can escape to Cronenberg and Squirrels style if they need to pack it up. Then number 3, Rick versus Phoenix Person. When he references the giant fight chamber, that's a reference to the Emperor's throne room from the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi, because the whole fight scene is meant to be a big reference to the Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader fight scene in Return of the Jedi. They reference their history together several times. Phoenix Person has him dead to rights, like I said, but then it's Rick's family that saves him. The actual fight scene itself was animated great. I love how anime they get with this fight scene. It's also very reminiscent of the fight that Rick had with the President in Season 3, Episode 10, with them both kind of being badasses, one-upping each other along the way. Morty and Summer disable the Death Star super laser with his jeans, bringing the Wrangler jokes around full circle, Morty going pantsless for most of the rest of the episode, just flapping around in the wind. Then number 2, the ending scene of the episode where they reassert Rick's lowered status in the family, sort of returning the family dynamic to what it normally is, although we have the addition of the extra Beth now. Everyone kind of thinks of him as a bad dad. Morty and Summer are totally cool with the alternate version of Beth because she's way cooler than the original Beth, so now they have 2 badass moms. The memory vial is a big callback to Morty's mind blowers. I don't know what they're going to be doing going forward with this alternate version of Beth, but they could actually develop a spin-off series with her going off on her other adventures, because there's another joke about another franchise spin-off series in a post-credit scene that I'll talk about in a second too. But it sounds like going forward, this new alternate Beth is canon, so she will continue to show up every once in a while on the show. Who knows when she'll come back again? Maybe they'll just bring her back in Season 5, Episode 1, or maybe she'll come back a couple more times. The new original song that they did for this whole montage was actually pretty solid. And notice in the background of this flashback video, in the tank behind the clone tanks, there's this tiny baby Cthulhu in a jar. That's implied to be the one from the intro scene that we've been seeing ever since the beginning of the series. Then it's also revealed that even though Rick is a terrible dad, as he says, he is a pretty good friend, and he rescued Phoenix Person in a bid to try and save him, and is keeping him in the garage behind this shelf wall with a box of time travel stuff. So that's canon now. Until you see Rick release him or fully heal him, he's always going to be chilling out behind this wall in all the Season 5 episodes. Wouldn't it be funny if, because this is such a big twist, if they just released him in Season 5 Episode 1, like, alright, Phoenix Person, you're back to normal, you're done, take off now. In number 1 WTF, the post-credit scene with a joke about Jerri's spin-off series about the invisible garbage truck, Dan Harmon did a lot of these improvised funny songs for his Harmontown podcast where he would just make them up on the fly. The joke of the spin-off series, though, is that it only lasts until Jerri runs out of gas because he can't find the invisible gas tank to refill the truck. It was fun while we lasted, we had a good run, and he metaphorically got to take out the trash when he took out the pimp. The other Easter egg here, right at the end, is for this man and the dog here. This is meant to be Mike Mendel. He was the Rick and Morty producer that passed away at the beginning of the season. They just added him to this scene here just to memorialize him again. They did a special post-credit scene for him at the end of Season 4, Episode 1 as well. But what'll happen is I'll do a Season 5 teaser and predictions video tomorrow talking about what's going on with the Season 5 episodes. So as long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see that video when I post it. But everyone just let me know in the comments if you spotted any big Easter eggs in the episode that I didn't mention in the video. I feel like it was probably one of the best episodes of the season, if not the best, just the way they brought things back around. Most of the time, I tend to like the canonical, heavy serialized episodes more than the one-offs, but sometimes some of their one-offs are pretty solid. So everyone click here for all my Rick and Morty episodes, and click here for that brand new Marvel Eternals teaser. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.